good at basketball?
Well then, you must be good at maths.
Oh, how I wish. But being an Asian doesn't qualify me as a maths guru. Am I right? Whether you're a freshman settling in your first few weeks of college or a senior soon to be wrapping up your academic pursuits, you definitely are no stranger to many stereotypes. But some of these labels stung, right? Or maybe you're guilty of using them in your daily life. But the real question here is, are these comments harmful? Well, it actually just depends on the situation. While not all stereotypes are necessarily harmful, they aren't healthy depictions either. Like, you don't ask a toddler for directions. You don't ask a very old woman to help you move the sofa. And that's because you stereotype. However, stereotypes can go awry in all sorts of ways and can cause horrible moral and rational problems. But this is because a system that has been evolved to make generalizations in certain circumstances could go wrong in other circumstances. For instance, have a look at this emoji. What does this emoji remind you of? Well, to most people, especially Gen Zs, it will remind them of Italians. Objects like these help us classify people into different cultural groups, and most of them are harmless. I mean, unless an Italian gets offended by you using this emoji and starts arguing with the same gesture. To put it lightly, stereotypes are like putting people in boxes. After all, stereotyping can create a misconception of individuals or a group of people, though research has proved that we stereotype so that we can reduce the amount of thinking that we have to do when we meet a new person. Believe it or not, I am 100% sure that when you first clicked on this video, you probably classified me into a stereotype or had a certain thought about me and my video. And some of you may be denying it right now. But you just have to remember that it's very normal for humans to stereotype. But there's a limit. Crossing this limit results to bad stereotypes that convey a negative message. That's where the term stereotype threat arises. Basically, that's when someone has the fear of doing something that would inadvertently confirm a negative stereotype. After all, how do you really forge your identity when you're constantly battling the stereotypes being thrown at you? Let's take an example. It's a general stereotype that men don't cry. Now, if a man is going through a lot of pain, he would not want to show his emotions to everyone around him, as it goes against society's misconception of men. In fact, stereotypes can plant seedlings of insecurity which flower over time. When one stereotypes over and over again, you begin to internalize negative characteristics associated with that stereotype and allow them to become self-fulfilled prophecies. This reminds me of my cousin. She's skinny, due to which a lot of people think that she's on a weight loss diet. But let me tell you, she's one of the biggest foodies I've ever met. We all have an identity, and it is produced from the experiences and interactions that we've had with other people. Tied with the narrative that you only amount to your stereotype, your individual development is stunted in the long run, and this is what psychologists refer to as an identity crisis. Stereotypes are ingrained in culture. People start learning them from their childhood, and most of them tend to signal which social groups are most valid for them while they have to relieve their individual frustration. In the 1940s, psychologists Kenneth and Mamie Clark conducted and discovered a series of experiments known colloquially as the doll tests. These were conducted to test the psychological effects of segregation on African American children. Mr. Clark used 4 dolls, identical except for their color, to test the children's racial perceptions. The subjects, children aged 3 to 7, were asked to choose which colored doll they preferred. A majority of children chose the white doll and assigned positive characteristics to it. This simply implies that parenting plays a major role in the way we tend to stereotype, and that children learn from the people around them as well as the society that they are living in. As new generations arise, we, as future parents, need to teach our children tolerance and how to classify people into good groups. Our motto should be to get rid of all the negative stereotypes. As James Forbes said, when people rely on surface appearance and false racial stereotypes, rather than in-depth knowledge of others at the level of the heart, mind, and spirit, their ability to assess and understand people accurately is compromised. So, before you stereotype others later on in the future, I would like you to ask yourself a question. Is it really worth putting that person in a box? Thank you.